Good evening. Welcome to the Mancunian Way. My name is Martin. I'm your host. And tonight we're joined by Ozzy, Rich, and Alan. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good morning here.
And it's a good morning.
So, yeah, slow news day. Now it happened.
Not much to talk about.
That happened to wake up to this morning.
So, yeah, good evening to everyone within the chat. I will say my bit as we go along. I will let everyone else say their bit first, and then, but you will get a Martin rant 100% at some point because, listen, you know, they all wanted it, but there's already 25 clubs already said no, thank you to it. So, yeah, don't know how they're going to get this one off the ground when 25 clubs have already said no, thanks. But we'll see, including our very own Manchester City, who did release a statement around about 5-6 o'clock-ish to say their stance had not changed. They had no interest in joining the Super League or a European Super League. They wanted to stay with European competitions within UEFA and FIFA. So, yeah. Who wants to start with this one? There is a poll in the chat as well. If you want to, basically, do you want to join the Super League? Yes, or do you not want to join the Super League? No. Simple fact. So off you go. Whoever wants to start, jump in. Water's lovely.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, I think anyone kind of with half a brain saw this coming. You know, there were the two main clubs behind this, Barcelona and Real Madrid. You know, using their front company. Is it A23 or something like that?
Yeah.
You know, it's basically, you know, they're trying to say it's a separate company that they've set up, and it's their front company basically trying to sell this to every club going. I even hear Wrexham are in the mix. So, yeah, I mean,
Super League, Wrexham. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from everything I've seen today, nothing has really changed. You know, the ruling is, I think anyone could see, like I said, it is just Real Madrid and Barcelona trying their best to claw some money because both clubs are very desperate, especially Barcelona. They're in financial, you know, I don't know how they're still, you know, afloat really, but Rich will explain it better than I can. And it's just, they're going to keep flogging this horse until they get what they want. But the problem is that because let's be honest, without the Premier League teams in this, it's not going to be a Super League, you know, because they need the Premier League.
No German teams.
All the German, PSG as well with their kind of, you know, UEFA kind of headman in the mix. It's just not going to happen, plain and simple. I'm not saying some sort of Super League won't happen in the near future, you know, possibly. Money always talks, and you know, whether in years down the line, you know, one of the Arab countries comes along and goes, you know what, we're going to throw money at this until it works. You know, that's a possibility. But for me, this judgment, this ruling hasn't changed anything really. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I don't think anyone's got anything to worry about really, if I'm honest.
One thing I would say, Ozzy, is that in one level nothing's changed, in one level everything's changed. Fundamentally, the legal position of football, as it has been run as a monopoly for a century, is gone. And that's likely to follow in courts in some other places as well. So fundamentally, there is not all the things that UEFA were using to stop a Super League happening are, are gone. They are not going to be able to punitively punish in the way that they have without going against court. So nothing's changed on one level, and on another level, everything's changed. And whilst I think everyone's incredibly optimistic about this, firstly, the one thing you know in life is that people change their mind. There are a dozen
Correct.
top golfers that live who said
Correct.
they would never, ever do
Alan,
that.
but you get a little excited there and get all giddy, like Rich speak.
No, and I don't think there's anything to be giddy about. I think it's
Alan's very
not
giddy.
necessarily a good thing. But what that means, and I think I think there's an absolute inevitable break in the Premier League to come, because you have United, Arsenal, and Liverpool, who are utterly determined to get the no promotion, no relegation, no risk, continuous revenue streams. And they are trying to use the Premier League rules and the way the Premier League set up against Newcastle, against Chelsea, against City. And, potentially there's a vote the other day in the Premier League, and what was it, 11-8 with an abstention about all of these rules. And these two things are going head to head. So as far as I can see, either United, Arsenal, Liverpool are going to have to change their whole stance on football, agree that the Premier League can have money flowing into it, agree that it can be competitive, agree that they're happy they might not come in the top 3 every year, agree that they don't have a God-given right to that. I don't see it. So therefore, you are going to have these two groups in football going against each other. And now both of them are going to use the Super League as their ammunition against the others. Oh, if you don't do this, we're going to go off to the Super League. And they will be doing that. Those clubs will be doing that with the Premier League now about, their idea that the Premier League, could come harder on City or Chelsea. And Newcastle, etc., will now be saying to the Premier League and the other clubs, well, we might go and weaken the Premier League and take 5 clubs to the Super League. And that is going to happen. And that to me says that there's a massive showdown coming in the Premier League, whether that's Chelsea get relegated for financial fair play, whether it's City get punished. But now, when that happens, that if it does happen, and if the verdict's not guilty, when that happens, we might see United, Arsenal, Liverpool doing it. This is going to be used by those clubs to wield power, and therefore, I think it's thrown petrol on the Premier League's issues with City, as in terms of a fire. I think it's thrown petrol on the Chelsea situation. I think it's thrown petrol on the Newcastle situation. And so I think, whilst all those clubs might come out and say today we're not going into the Super League, in a year's time, if City get penalised 20 points and told they're unfairly gone, they'll be using the Super League. And equally, if the Premier League come back and says, City, you've done nothing wrong, United, Arsenal, Liverpool will be saying the Premier League's not fair. We're going to have to go and join the Super League so we can have fair and equal competition where we all get our £1 billion a year, and football will split. I think. I just think this is the first step in maybe something that's 3 years, maybe 5 years, but I'm very pessimistic that it will wreck the game as we know it today.
Rich, the one thing that I think, well, for me, isn't this the point though that the UK government are about to appoint an overseas person for all sport, basically saying that in UK law, that no British club can go off and go and be part of a Super League. I mean, that's coming into law very shortly, isn't it, next year?
Well, I suspect the legislation will be incredibly different. I mean, if you trust the current government to do legislation that's in the interests of, the common man, then, I think they'll do law, but they're not going to do law that annoys the Saudis or annoys that, Dubai. And if this is a reality of some clubs getting $1 million, they're not going to do law that costs 4 English clubs $1 billion each. So, unfortunately, only one thing that talks with the current government, and that's money. So I don't think there's going to be any, unless they really think it's going to win them 20 seats in the north that don't have hospitals, but we don't care about healthcare if, Doncaster aren't allowed to join the Super League, I don't see that that's going to have that much effect. I mean, maybe I'm pessimistic, but if you think Rishi's going to be the idealist saviour of
come from
club
him, Rich.
football,
It's not come from him.
No, but I just don't. I
It's
just don't
come
see
from
it.
the King of England, Rich. No, not from the government.
Well, then it doesn't matter then. I mean, that's the problem. Yeah, that would be about money as well.
Let's before we bring Alan in, because I know Alan's very giddy onto this subject and wants to move to the Super League straight away. Mad Hatter, I will get to your question in a moment.
No.
I just want to give some breakdown of what's actually happened today. So there was plans for the controversial Super League to be announced again due to what happened within the European Court of Justice today. Found there was a case was brought by the ESL and its backers claiming UEFA and FIFA were breaking competition law by threatening to sanction those who joined the breakaway league. So the European Court of Justice said, yep, quite right. You cannot do that. But that then also said that it wouldn't necessarily also be approved either. A lot of people today have took this ruling as a Super League would automatically be approved and it was in. And that's not the case. That wasn't what the ruling was today. This is what people have got very confused about. People think today was a Super League yes or no job. It wasn't.
Yeah. But Martin, I think the counter to that is whilst
it's not about to get to the Premier League rule book, Rich. That's come out.
It hasn't approved. No, it hasn't approved anything, but it's removed all.
Well, it hasn't.
All the main barriers.
Rich, still got the Premier League rule book.
But that doesn't. The Premier League rule book doesn't apply to 35 other countries. European football.
I'm not asking. Rich, this is my point.
And if you leave the Premier League, right, two things.
Whether you like
this
or not, I don't
League,
care about La Liga, mate.
But Martin, listen. The Premier League rulebook applies to members of the Premier League. As soon as you leave the Premier League, it doesn't apply. So it's irrelevant.
Again,
so three clubs leave the Premier League. It's irrelevant.
Jumped in straight away. It's not irrelevant.
Well, it is if you leave. Well, Premier League rulebook doesn't apply to me. Doesn't apply to Alan. Doesn't apply to Ozzy.
So you just want to play for?
Doesn't apply to
Rich. Let me speak. No, for God's sake.
I'm Martin. Martin, listen. You really important for today's discussion.
It's not because
no.
Give a shit about listen, the Premier League.
No, Martin, you are.
I do.
You're making a huge mistake here. I do. I deeply don't want the.
I'm not been allowed to make the point, Rich. You've just.
I don't want. No. Because if someone says something,
you've been quite rude if I'm honest with you.
No, listen, Martin.
You have.
If someone says something,
Martin,
it doesn't mean they want it.
Alan, I haven't made my point.
I do not want a Premier League to be broken up. I do not want a Super League. I do not want to be playing European clubs every week. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen, and it doesn't mean that I don't think it will happen. Now, that's what I'm saying. So do not take the view that I want a Super League. I don't. But I think it's going to happen.
Can I speak now?
Yeah.
Because I spoke 30 seconds and you and Alan jumped down. 30 seconds I got out.
I didn't say a thing.
I got 30 seconds out and I got jumped on immediately. Didn't even get to make a point. Right. Point I'm making is everyone today has said it's some think it's UEFA. Some are saying you don't have to leave the Premier League. Some are saying you have to leave UEFA. Yeah? Because the European Super League will take over UEFA Champions League. The point I was about to make was, at the moment, under the Premier League law, you have to leave the Premier League. You will have to resign from the Premier League to play in it. That is under the law right now. As we speak of 22 minutes past 9 on the 21st of December, that is the law. It's under I9, I9.1, I9.2, and I9.3 of the Premier League handbook. Right at this minute. Because SLBSN, Stefan, who is a sports lawyer, was talking about this today. Saying now you can't be kicked out of the Premier League, but you can resign from the Premier League. That's my whole point of this. I don't want to leave the Premier League. I don't want my game as a Manchester City in the future to become Manchester City versus Benfica, Manchester City versus Barcelona, and Manchester City, and I never play United, Liverpool, or any of them ever again. Is that what we want? That isn't what someone's got us on in the background. Is that what we want?
All right, who's got us on?
Not me.
Hello.
I can hear it.
Sorry, it was on my phone. I was walking, thinking so.
But again, I wasn't allowed to say my point. I made one line and got pounced on.
But I honestly don't think many people agree with you. I doubt there's more than 5 people on this entire stream who would rather be playing Lyon or Barcelona than playing United or Liverpool. That's the reality of the fans. But
I think what we can all agree on is that it's a very complicated, thing that's going on. I mean, this ruling, yes, you're right, Rich, has come along and said, UEFA and FIFA can't have a monopoly on the game of football, which I think we all agree with, because none of us are big fans of FIFA or UEFA. They're both corrupt, allegedly, and I think we can all agree, we've talked about it many times on this show, saying, how much we disagree with a lot of the rules. I think what we all can agree on, though, is that none of us think this is a good idea for the game we love.
Yeah.
I think, you are right in some respect, Rich, that one day I think this possibly could happen, because when you are talking about money with people who basically, let's be honest, own countries, and can bankroll, anything, let's be honest, the imagination comes to it. These things can happen. I don't think it will happen anytime soon, because realistically, I think all the clubs, let's just keep to the Premier League clubs, all realise the backlash they got a couple of years ago was too much. The PR was a disaster for all the Premier League clubs. Okay. And even though, yes, it'll make them money, more power, ultimately it'll dilute the sport, because I think every fan loves the fact that the Premier League is so special that any club can beat anyone on their day. Clubs like Leicester can win the Premier League. Aston Villa, are in the top 4, could stay in the top 4, could win the Premier League. When you look at our European neighbours, Bayern Munich pretty much win the league every year. So do PSG. Barcelona pretty much win La Liga most of the years, or it's them around Madrid. So the Premier League is so special, and that's the thing we love about it so much, is that it's got everything we wanted, everything we dreamed.
And that's because of the even spread of money, and it's something I really love about the Premier League. The fact that you get I don't know what it is, 75% of your money is regardless of where you place in the league. So Bournemouth might come 18th, and they'll probably be in the top 35 richest clubs in Europe because of the Premier League money. But I think this ruling will even threaten that, Aussie, because the reality is, for years we've had United and Liverpool particularly saying we generate 800 million for the Premier League and we only get paid 150. and we deserve a slightly higher share. And last time the TV deal was done, clubs like City, United, Liverpool get a bigger share of the overseas TV money. So the Premier League money is not as even going forward as it used to be in the past. And I think next time there's a negotiation of the share of the Premier League, you'll see clubs threatening to go to the Super League if they don't get a bigger share. And so I think you'll see inevitably going the way of La Liga, where La Liga, Madrid and Barcelona get 5 times as much as most of the clubs in that league. I think we'll start to see that happening. There'll be pots of the Premier League money for teams in Europe. There'll be bigger amounts going to placings rather than the flat fee. So I do think that this will, it was happening anyway. So let's not pretend that wasn't happening in the Premier League, regardless of Super League. But I think, unfortunately, it's just a weapon now in the hands of every big club to use as a threat. So Barcelona and Madrid, when they're negotiating their TV deals, will use it as a threat to La Liga. Juventus and Inter and AC will use it as a threat against Syria. So I think, this is a...
I don't personally care about Barcelona and Real Madrid.
But
part in this, don't give 2 shits.
No, we might not, but that's all,
The reason they want this is because their clubs have been ran shit for years. That ain't our fault. Don't put it.
They just want money.
Our league and our fans, because no offense, and this is no dig here, you and Alan don't go to games, so it's not going to affect you as much.
Of course, it's going to affect us.
Fans.
Fine. It's not going to affect. Well, you could say it's not going to affect the match going fans. You're just going to see it.
The Premier League.
Yes, but my
own things to be Benfica and Juventus, mate.
No one does. No one does. Everyone wants. Wants us to be playing the local clubs.
No offense, it won't affect you as much.
Well, no, I disagree. I'm not going to be getting up to watch it if we're playing Benfica. I'm going to lose a club I've supported for 40 years, playing the teams I've watched them for 40 years. I'm going to lose those trips home I have every year or two to come and watch City. I mean, I think it affects anyone who has grown up watching and wanting City to be playing against the rivals you've grown up playing. Yeah, I'm
not saying that. I'm not saying that. You're not getting my point. What I'm saying here. Point is, for a season to go older than 30, 40 years is very different to somebody who's watching it on the TV. Whether you like, yes, this is not about who's better and who's worse. It will affect him in different ways, Rich. Whether you want to admit that or not.
Yeah, of course it will. I'll get better sleep. But you'll get.
Have you just woke up
you'll be hugging Benfica. You'll be hugging Benfica fans, not being worried about Liverpool fans hitting you with a brick. I mean, it'll change stuff, but it'll fundamentally change the rivalry of football.
I'll explain.
Fundamentally change the hate of the team you're playing.
I don't want to watch Benfica and Juventus and Barcelona every 3 weeks. That's not fun for me, mate. I want to watch Manchester derbies, FA Cups, all that sort of stuff. That's what I want to watch.
I think that's what 90% of City fans, 95%, 99%.
Don't build the extension then. Forget the extension. Forget the hotel. Let's jack it all in then. What's the point? Jack it all in now then. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you're telling me about UEFA and thing, my issue is it. You said 5 minutes ago it doesn't create a monopoly. I think it creates a bigger monopoly. Because say somehow you get to stay within your domestic leagues, because that's what it's saying at the minute, you can stay within your domestic leagues. When they did that little video today, which I'll be honest with you, I expect a university student to throw out. I thought it was pitiful. University students in the 3rd year do something like that. More than, not a billionaire business that's meant to be trying to profiteering or bringing in a company to build. But I'll be honest with you. Say the Premier League stays, and you take 5 clubs out of the Premier League. So take Liverpool, United, City, Tottenham, Arsenal. Yeah. How much money will they get from the European Super League?
Martin.
No, how much money will they get? Would they get billions, 3, whatever it is? So where would they then be able to profit from that money to make signings then in their domestic leagues? So are you not monopolising your leagues back up even more?
Well, until someone else comes along with even more money and throws it at it and splits the super. I mean, that's the thing. You know, when a shark, or the big fish comes in and eats the smaller fish and creates that monopoly, there's a shark somewhere else, and where there's a shark, there's often a fisherman with a harpoon. I mean, and this goes on for forever. And I think this is one of the problems is that that there's no Super League could come in, this company, and they could create something that the clubs in that are then going to know that is something else bigger going to come over the top. And what worries me most, Martin, it's not even the opponents playing, it's actually changing the fundamental game of football. Because if you see what the absolute dominance of money and ownership of sport is doing in golf or is doing in cricket, it's not that it's changing which teams you play. It's creating completely new teams. It's creating completely new rules. If you look at the number of people now, Test cricket doesn't sell out in Australia. Save for day 1 or day 2 of Ashes Test cricket, which has been, certainly outside the big grounds, huge crowds, is dying. In India, you'll get Test matches with 3,000 people there because there's 100,000 going to watch a 2020 game. Now, 2020 for me isn't cricket. It's not the same sport. It's like watching baseball compared to watching Test cricket. I love Test cricket. Golf, the new competition, which now half of the last 4 years major winners are now in, is played on 54 holes, not 72. It's played on shotgun starts, not staggered starts. It's played with music in the background. It's played in teams, not as individuals. It's a totally different sport. It's starting to bear no relation to the sport. Again, golf, a sport I love. And I worry that this sort of thing is going to do it for football. It's going to be like, advertising for quarters. The Americans have pushed this in football for years. So what's to say Super League doesn't say, we'll have 4 20-minute quarters? What's to say Super League doesn't say, an 80-minute game, fits better into our advertising schedule? What's to say that actually we don't want any more games at these times because it's no good for TV? We want a game every night of the week, but we don't want a game, Saturday afternoon. And that sort of tradition goes. So what's to say that it becomes far worse than just City against Barcelona? It becomes City against Barcelona on a Wednesday night in July, in 4 20-minute quarters, because that could happen. And I think these sorts of things, because if the monopoly applies to FIFA and UEFA, what's to say the monopoly on the rules of football? What's to say these other things?
There won't be a monopoly. It will just create a brand new monopoly.
But what happens if that new monopoly plays a different sport?
It's like this Super League's open to everyone. It's really not. It's really not. They're not going to invite Luton Town in. So, we need to forget all this. It's open to everyone. It's not going to be. You're living in a dream world if you think that's the reality of it. Luton Town and Blackburn Rovers ain't going to be suddenly pumped into the Super League anytime soon.
Why not, Martin? It's got 3 tiers, hasn't it? You've got the gold, the blue, and the superstar.
If you look at what
a pom-pom, 3-minute ads and all sorts next. Hot dogs and popcorn coming down the concourse.
If you look at it
I thought it's quite funny.
See, I'm with Alec Johnson. Super League would just destroy tradition competitions, and loyal fans will be no more just tourists.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
I agree with that, Martin.
You want it though, Alan?
Hang on, I've not said my piece. I've not even said a word yet.
You want it? You've been texting me all day. Can't wait for this. I want it.
I'm also winding you up.
Yeah, but I think, no need to wind him up. I think he's wound up enough about.
I know.
I was totally fine, Rich, until you didn't let me get my god before you jumped on there. One sentence and you dived on me like a hyena on a bloody carcass.
Yeah.
I didn't even get it out.
You show blood.
You're confusing my pessimism with my opinion. That's all.
Martin, wouldn't you want to watch Benfica versus Leon? Would I bollocks want to watch Benfica versus Leon? All right, go on, Alan.
First things first. I want the Premier League, and I want the Premier League to stay as it is. Okay? All right? But with this happening today, I sort of knew it because you can't, it's restriction of trade. You can't stop people doing what they want to try and do and start a new business or start a new league or start a new anything, right? So the European courts were right. Okay? I think eventually, long term, the Super League will happen because this is driven by the big clubs in Europe, i.e. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, whoever, right? Didn't get a good enough TV deal for the Champions League that they went to. This is all started by that. And they went out and said, bollocks, we're going to start our own and we'll compete against UEFA, all right? To take away the Champions League. This is not to take away the Premier League. This is not to take away the Bundesliga. This is to take away the Champions League and move clubs into that, into their format. And they're calling it the Super League, okay? Everyone's kicked off because of that. The problem is, and I agree with what Richard's description was of what might happen in the current state of affairs. But as we know, a lot of clubs in Europe, including the big ones, are struggling for money at the moment. Okay, and they're looking for avenues to raise more money, and also the Liga and Italian leagues competing against the Premier League you just can't compete because the money's been driven into the Premier League. Let's face it, the Liga you get 62 million for winning it compared to 167 like we did last year, which is a massive difference. So to them, the Champions League to extra fund it is hugely important. Okay, for them to be able to compete against everybody else. All right, i.e. the Premier League teams. All right. The problem you've got at the moment is very simple. You've got Man United with £1 billion worth of debt, if not more. All right. Do you think the Glazers' heads will turn when they see this today? Yes, it will. Because the Americans understand that they're businessmen. We're fortunate at Man City that we make profit every year and we've got zero debt. Chelsea have got massive debt. Liverpool have got huge debt. And if they're offering £1 billion a season, the heads are going to turn. Whether we like it or we don't, as fans, do I want the Premier League? Of course I do. Yes, I do. I would prefer that. But not only that, and Richard is correct about Everton's situation, the Man City situation, the Chelsea situation. We've got 115 hanging over us. And if that goes tits up in the wrong way, do you think our owners are going to sit there and say, all right, we'll go and play in Division 2? I'll tell you straight now, if they've got this alternative to go to, they'll turn to that. I'm telling you straight.
And what does an emotional fan base do? You know, what do the Chelsea fans might all be against Super League, but if the Premier League turned around and relegated them, going back to the Premier League for 2 years, the fan base would be behind it, and that because they'd be angry, so angry with the game.
It will be the same for us, you know. Because whether we like it or UEFA and FIFA are corrupt, we know that, but so are the Premier League, massively corrupt.
So is Florentino Perez.
Yeah.
And you want to get into bed with him?
I know that. I know that. Well, I'm just trying to be objective here, Martin. It's like, we've got a situation where if we get relegated and get kicked out of the Premier League, then that's like being.
You can only take us to the Championship.
Yeah, but it's a different league, a different company.
So what we go to the I'd rather go to the Championship for 1 year than do this.
I know, and I'm just trying to
Sorry,
be objective.
but I would.
Listen, Martin, I'm just trying to be objective. Our owners are going to turn around and say, "Well, hang on, we can go and play in this league over here, in the Super League, and then $1 billion a year, and have TV rights like you would not believe." And they're trying to compete with the Premier League in this way, but they're not. This is only the Champions League they're taking away. They're trying to get rid of UEFA's Champions League.
I know they are. Problem is, you've got, like I said, you've got the Premier League, because Syria have now said it as well. Syria have said it, and I think it was La Liga have now said it. There's a few clubs, leagues coming out saying they will not back any of this.
I know. Listen, I know that,
and they will not back the teams who go.
But I don't think the Super League. I think it will happen, but it might be 5-10 years away. Okay. I do think it'll happen.
I think they're looking at for the next 18 months.
Oh, well, that's what they're looking at.
They're not looking for 5 or 10 years, job.
Well, I think they are.
Because UEFA have already come out today, if anyone's noticed, and said they're now looking at scrapping the whole Champions League new format and taking it all the way back to the way it is as it is right now and keeping it as it is.
Well,
it's a lot, Martin. It's a lot more urgent for Europe than it is for the Premier League.
It's more urgent for Spanish clubs, Rich, than it is for the rest of Europe.
I'd say even though they didn't go into it, I'd say it's pretty important for a club like PSG because they don't make much money in France. So I think there's some clubs in Italy it would probably be very useful for. Germany's probably okay because Bayern are quite rich and the German league is quite well supported in TV money and people going to games.
It'll be good for Man United in its current format.
It's pretty clear that it's probably why the Glazers have hung around, to be honest. I think it's why the Glazers don't want to sell United because I think they're still 100% intent on that. I don't know. Arsenal probably might not be as much now because Arsenal are doing well, but I guarantee you that United will be hugely thinking about how they can do it. If you look at interestingly, you look at other Super Leagues in other sports, generally what they always aim at is a club in each region. When you see, where sports have actually gone head to head, it's about, we need a club in the Northwest, we need a club in the Northeast, we need a club in the Midlands, we need a club in London. And I'm sure that will be the thinking, and there'll be, how will that feel for Everton if they're, under the pressure they're under, or there's a lot of big clubs like Leeds, Everton, who could be condemned to something like it.
They've got new brilliant ground to go into next year. Will change the sponsorship barriers at Everton because people will attract investment like West Ham when they move to their ground. So, long term, Everton might just go, well, you treat us like a piece of shit. See you fucking later, Premier League.
Yeah.
But, just the same reasons that these are what people are saying, the same reasons that clubs are saying, it's exactly the same reasons when it was the first division and changed to the Premier League. 5 big clubs got together, were not happy with what's going on money-wise, and got together, started the Premier League. It's exactly the same reasons, but in this circumstance, it's over Europe.
Yeah, so, I think that's what worries me actually is the impact it has. I don't think any Premier League clubs are going to walk out and go. I think they've got because they're all the richest clubs in Europe. I think the Super League was as much European clubs trying to damage the Premier League as anything else because they hate the money the Premier League's got. So there's no financial need for any Premier League club now to take the risk of jumping too soon.
No,
so the Premier League clubs will inevitably sit back and see what happens, and see if it works, see what punishments, see how the fans react, and they're going to test the waters and, you know, have 2 years of propaganda before they even make a statement on it. So I think in that sense,
the Italian Federation rejected it 4 hours ago. The actual full list of clubs who have actually now come out and rejected it. Ozzy, get your reaction on this. United, City, Tottenham, Chelsea, Celtic, Porto, Seville, Valencia, Atletico Madrid, Real Sociedad, Cadiz, Levante, Valladolid, Granada, Villarreal, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, PSG, Monaco, Inter, AS Roma, Atalanta, Feyenoord, Fenerbahce, and there was Olympic Lyon was the last one.
Juventus. Is Juventus on the list?
I think I thought Juventus was still. I thought Juventus was still.
They're the ones they're the ones who said they're not coming. They're not going in it.
Yeah. But I mean, the trouble, the sad reality is though, any one of those clubs can be bought tomorrow, and their owner can have a. I mean, apart from Bayern and Dortmund, nearly every other one of those clubs. Well, no, but City won't be bought tomorrow, but they could be, and you know, Liverpool, United could be, and that's but
very
that's
hard
the thing
when you're doing this tonight on this baby's job.
But that's the reality of the world, and you know, the worst thing is that if there is $1 billion on offer, someone might go and buy a Premier League club specifically to change their policy and to take them in because they think they're going to make a fortune, because there are a lot of owners in the Premier League and European football who aren't in it for football, don't care about the clubs, they're in it to make money. You know, the United could be a shopping mall. United could be a very large shopping mall as far as the Glazers are concerned. You know, Liverpool could probably be, you know, US defence contractor as far as FSG is concerned.
Oh,
you know,
Rich,
we're in for the glory.
Topic, if this is the road you're going down with it tonight. It's a very hard topic.
I will say this, Martin. These clubs,
I say, talk as a fan, not as a businessman.
Yeah, no, but it's a business, mate. Whatever you might say, it's a business. You can like it's a business.
I get that, mate, but I don't care about Barcelona and Real Madrid being skinned.
No, I agree. But I think, Martin, this is the difference between...
Do you know what I care about, Alan? Manchester City Football Club. Do you know what everyone in the comments cares about? Manchester City Football Club.
Yeah, which is why we have to have our eyes open to all the things that could happen, because we care about Manchester City. And the reality is what we want to happen and what... But, Martin, in life, there is always a difference between what we want to happen and what we think is going to happen. And I think that... And you know, I might want X to happen for Australia or the UK in the next 3 years, but depending on who's in government, I might think the exact opposite is going to happen. And I think, unfortunately, at the moment, that's what worries me about football with this ruling, is that what I want to happen and what I love about football is under real threat. And I don't think we can take comfort from a lot of the statements and things today, because I don't think they'll mean anything. You don't?
You think Barcelona cared about Manchester City?
You don't, mate.
You don't.
Why would you? Then you have to care about football across the globe.
Martin,
garbage.
Yeah, I know we don't care about Barcelona and Real Madrid. I don't give a shit about them. But the problem is, they're looking for a solution to raise money so they can compete with some of the Premier League sides.
Well, I don't use Ozzy takeover. Jesus Christ! I feel like these two are on a pro. Are you two on this European Super League committee?
No,
I'll tell you something, mate.
Really are.
If we get done for 115, I will completely back it.
Yeah, Martin, you have to differentiate between thinking something's going to happen and wanting it.
Yeah,
but we don't know if it's going to fully happen. That's why I read the statement at the beginning.
And the clubs like Man United and Arsenal will use this.
I don't trust them.
They will look, mate. They will look. These clubs will use this as a weapon to get what they want. I'm telling you.
Yeah, 100%.
Richard is right.
And we will as well. That's the biggest trouble for the Premier League now.
If we get done,
we might as well come out of this. I'll say we might as well.
Yeah. But take the Premier. No, I think today take the Premier League's argument with City. Let's talk about City. Let's make this about City and the Premier League's argument about City. In that conversation now, City can be saying to the Premier League, as can Newcastle with City, as can Chelsea.
Yeah.
Do you really want to relegate us? If you're going to do that, we're going to go and join the Super League.
We're not
We've got a team in London. We've got a team in the Northeast. No, from the Chargers. But Arsenal, Liverpool, and United. No, I don't think we are. But now, Arsenal, Liverpool, and United, you can guarantee they will be saying to the Premier League, if you don't relegate City from this, if you don't push for massive sanctions, we're going to leave and join the Super League. So you've got no choice but to really go and punish City and Chelsea. So you're going to have these two sets of clubs using this against the Premier League, and I think it is going to contribute to a much further splitting of the Premier League clubs. I don't think it's going to bring Premier League clubs together. I think it's going to come to Chelsea and probably Villa, probably Newcastle, probably City, probably Everton saying, we don't respect the rules you've got now. We want to be able to spend money to compete as we want. Possibly could be using the same argument with UEFA. We don't agree with your FFP rules anymore. And you're going to have the old guard saying, if you don't do what we want and make it much harder for Newcastle, much harder for City, much harder for, and if you don't really punish them, we're going to go. And I think that is going to probably really start to play out with Chelsea's FFP from the end of this season. So probably 18 months' time, when City and Chelsea are probably going to be right in the heart of, discussions with the Premier League. I think this is going to blow up.
Oh, look, Luzzie, I understand what you're saying, mate, but honestly, we know rival fans don't give a damn about us, mate. So are they not? And they're not following the principles of football either. No United fan, Barcelona fan gives a damn about Manchester City as well, mate. Come on, you need to come out of this. Oh, we're all football fans and family, friends. Don't work like that, mate.
I think a lot of United, a lot of United fans want to play City.
Can we try and get Ozzy in? Ozzy's been so patient. I've tried for 15 minutes to get him to talk. Please, can Ozzy talk?
Go on, Oz. Go on, Oz.
Thanks. Oh, God. Seriously.
It must be a glasses thing tonight.
I think it must be.
Must be a glasses thing. I don't know what's going on.
I'm lost for words in some respects. No, it's my turn to talk, but wow. I mean, on the principle of it, like, yes, I agree with Rich Allen. One day it probably will happen. As I said before, money talks. But realistically, it ain't going to happen anytime soon. When you've got someone like Perez come out and say, young fans can't even watch a full 90-minute game. They want shorter games. What we're going to do is like Rich talked about earlier, like Test cricket, 2020 matches. Come on, are you really going to listen to some guy like that? No. Come on, behave yourself. I think the problem for the Super League is they've got a couple of stumbling blocks. One, it's the wrong time. They tried it in 21, didn't happen because of the backlash, because it was poorly executed, and it's still being poorly executed by basically Barcelona and Real Madrid getting their parent company to try and sell this to the world. And it just looks, I mean, you talked about it before, mine. It looked like a Mickey Mouse show. I mean, come on. I mean,
we did look like a year 3 university student had made it.
Yeah,
it was embarrassing, that slideshow.
It really was. And I just think, Rich, when you've got companies like this that are putting stuff out like that, it just looks a joke. Do you know what I mean? How can you take anyone seriously? These are multi-billion-dollar companies.
I'm trying it. Go on, Rich. You can go now.
I totally agree. I mean, they were totally unprofessional about the original case, but now
it means the one today, Rich. Have you seen it?
But no. But they were totally unprofessional. They have been the whole time. They've done things not to their own timing. But the court, I don't think they even knew that the verdict was coming. I don't think whether the court played them a bit or whether they were unprepared. They didn't know it was coming. And it's like the announcement a year ago, whenever it was. I think that was just done in haste without even thinking about it. They didn't even warm up the media. It was utterly unprofessional. But there's another 1,000 companies out there that could be formed by different banking teams, different investors, different countries, sovereign wealth funds and everything else. So I don't think anything's happening in the next year or so, but I do think now there's going to be a dozen groups around the world starting to have conversations, starting to think about things. There'll be some people thinking, I should be world, not just European. We should be trying to set up a league that has a club in New York and Miami and LA along with the European clubs. I guarantee it. And that's what frightens me, because believe it or not, I actually love watching City the most, apart from, things like the derbies, which is a love-hate, but I love watching City against the teams I've watched us play the most since I was a kid. The likes of Villa and Newcastle and Chelsea, teams we were up and down in the leagues with, and we played, all over. I love it when we're playing teams that we hate because of 1981, like Spurs, or going up against the Scousers. That's what fans, what we want from the game. It's what we've had all our lives. None of us want that, but unfortunately, what does worry me is that the politics in the Premier League is going to kill what is the best thing for me in world football. The Premier League's 100 times better than the Champions League, and I worry that split will kill it.
The thing is, though, is you've just said it, though. The Premier League, let's be honest, is not only the best league, but it's the most financially stable league in the world at the moment. Compared to the rest of Europe, it makes more money than the rest of them combined. Even if they put all their money in one pot, it still wouldn't come anywhere close to what the Premier League makes.
But don't forget, Aussie, don't forget, it's the most corrupt league in the world now. We are corrupt. The Premier League is corrupt, and it is.
All leagues are corrupt. Let's be honest. All clubs are corrupt in some way or another. Every club in the world has broken a rule at some time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
this
is the thing for me, is that until the Premier League loses its shine, starts losing a lot of money, until, because back in the early noughties and the 90s, you had the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids who were up there, but they had the likes of Ronaldo and Messi. At the moment now, they've got nothing. I mean, they've spent so much money that they've bankrupted themselves to the point of where they're no longer attractive enough to kind of sell their TV rights to properly. They've had to kind of sell them to anyone that they can buy them, basically. And that's the thing, until the Premier League, because the Premier League is the Super League, let's be honest. It may not have the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona, but it has the money and it has the power. And at the moment, that's not going to change.
John, this is my point, by the way. Before you move on to that, Rich, sorry. John Rowland, Perez saying he don't want a monopoly with 15 Champions League trophies behind him. No one see the irony in all that.
Yeah. One of the very likely scenarios, and conversations have taken place about this in the past, one of the most likely scenarios, and I'd be interested to your reaction to this and how you would deal with it. What happens tomorrow if it was announced that next season 5 Premier League teams get relegated and 3 get promoted from the Champions League, and let's say PSG and Celtic are joining the Premier League? That an extra $1 billion goes into the TV money from PSG joining from France, and PSG joins. So we're still playing 17 clubs the same, but Celtic and PSG have come in, and there's an extra 1.1 billion in the pot from the French TV and from Scottish TV, and that happens. We're still playing 16 of the traditional clubs. We're still playing in that Liverpool. Then a year after that, it's announced that 5 clubs are going down and 3 clubs are going up, and Barcelona and Real Madrid have signed a deal to play in the Premier League. So now you're playing 14 of the clubs.
The Premier League, Rich?
Yeah, into the Premier League, because that
it can't happen tomorrow. Because it has to be voted on by the members.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if 18 clubs in the Premier League are going to gain 100 million each by kicking out two of the clubs down the bottom and getting PSG and that's an economic reality that could happen. And that happens. What would happen then? Would everyone go out madly, or would they think my club's gained 100 million? We've only lost two clubs. That's not much of a change. We're happy with that. 2 years later, what happens if the same happens again? But they add Barcelona and Madrid, and they say, and that adds 2 billion to the TV money because now you've got that, and then suddenly you've got 15 English clubs, and you've got, you know, 2 Spanish, 2 French. Because again, this is the sort of thing that in reality is what will happen. And
No,
PSG have, by all accounts, had conversations with another number of leagues in Europe about, you know, possibility.
Mitch, I don't understand, because that's a domestic league. The European Super League's not going to be a domesticated league. It takes over the Champions League.
Well, yeah, but that's today. But these same rulings can do other things.
So what I'm saying is we might as well pack up, because footballs can change on a whim at any time, any place.
No, I'm saying what I'm asking, kind of, what is the red line? If
the problem is, I think your model there,
a non-English club or Welsh club was in.
By the way, good evening, mate. How are you, mate? I hope you are well.
I'm good. Listening in. Good to be here. Great topic, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a good topic, mate.
It really is not.
It's awful.
Very emotional about it. Yeah.
I think the problem you've got with your.
Alan, I know I've not.
I think the problem with your scenario, Rich, is that I think you're not.
Thank you.
I'm not saying you're doing this on purpose, but I don't think you're kind of respecting the other leagues as in their fans, because I don't think the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid fans and who, you know, other European clubs, I don't think they accept all of a sudden their teams just up stickings and playing in the Premier League every season. I mean, I think fans would just hit the roof over there.
You'd hope so. But maybe,
well, I know we would, because we did. You know,
you'd have to travel there every.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't see your scenario working either, if I'm honest. I think realistically, it has to be all clubs, you know, our top 6 and the likes of PSG, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, all those coming together and actually forming a proper, well-organised plan to make a Super League. I think the problem that at the moment exists is that they're just this A23 or whatever they're called, backed by Barcelona and Real Madrid, it just doesn't work, because it doesn't look professional. It doesn't look like it's all pulled together properly. It just seems very mixed messages, and you know, you've, like Martin said before, you're having Perez come on TV and he's got 14 Champions Leagues behind him, and he's going, "Oh, I want my, you know, own league."
I don't want a monopolised league. Yeah, it's really been done ass backwards, this.
Yeah. One day, maybe, Rich, like I said, you've got a point. But today, next few years, I just don't see it.
I'm with you on that. I don't think anything's imminent. But I think,
no. And I don't think they're realising what they're doing with their monopoly. With the Super League, but saying you can stay in your domestic league, you're creating bigger monopolisation, because the teams in the Super League are going to have 10, 20, 30 times more money than the rest of the league. I
agree. It has to be. It has to be either or.
Do you know what it is? And Veto, thank you. Good evening. We were on a space earlier, weren't we, Veto, for about, 5 hours?
Yeah, it felt like that.
It felt like a long time. And there was Inter Milan fans going mad because Bournemouth could spend more money than them.
They've got a point.
Yeah, so...
No, it's not bad. No, this is my point. We're not here to make their clubs better.
Yeah, this is the
charity week.
This is the funny thing. And I equated it to the housing market bubble and the the bailout that was given to the auto companies in 2009 or 2010 back then. It's like the failure of how La Liga managed their league, because they pretty much gave the boatload to Barcelona and Real Madrid. And then you look at like how poorly, in terms of maybe just commercially, or how they expanded their brand domestically. You look at Syria.
Yeah.
They're crying poor because they look across and they see the Prem, and on how it was a, you know what, whether you're the 20th team in the Prem, obviously based off of promotion or relegation. If you're the 20 teams, here is how everyone benefits. Whereas the other leagues didn't look at it that way, and now you fast forward to today. There's the spending power. There's how it's been commercially ran, and you look at a Bournemouth that's able to outspend or have more available revenue because versus Napoli, who won their league. So they're all crying poor. They're looking at it as, oh, this will be a great equalizer because we all join this Super League, and there's going to be this much injection, and we'll be able to compete again. But I believe it's short-sightedness, because it's only for those that compete in the Champions League. It has nothing to do with how it will actually trickle down and benefit their domestic league. So I think they look at it more as a bailout. That's how it was spoken about in the spaces. And again, I don't see how it's currently structured for it to be better than what Champions League is as of right now. I think there's another iteration. Yeah.
100%.
Can I just answer that by
Gator,
I'll say, Rich, one side, I just need to answer. It's the Premier League when it happened was a little bit different because it was all domesticated. It was a very domesticated thing. The issue is, Paul, everyone in the Premier League is rich. The team who gets relegated gets what? Stupid amount of money, don't they? What they're saying is, and they made the point, Napoli, who win their league, get next to nothing nearly. This is
in
what
comparison.
This is about.
Yeah, in comparison.
It's not really. People think this is all an attack on UEFA, and it is a little bit. But do you know what it is actually more of an attack on when people haven't realised it? It's a bit of an attack on the Premier League, and nobody's
100%.
realised it.
No, absolutely.
It's an attack on the Premier League. Because
Everything's an
like
attack from
money.
European football's an attack on the Premier League.
Yeah, it's an attack on it. It's I want the money you've got. They don't like. Isn't it weird how 4 days ago the news came out Barcelona were going to have a fire sale?
Yeah. I've got a question, Martin, for Veta, who's in a pretty unique position to actually talk to this. But if you look at global sport, you know what I talked about, a club playing in another country. Veta, you're in a city which is probably, it's the only city on earth that has two of its, three biggest sporting institutions, sports clubs, are playing in a league in another country. And I think in both cases now, the sole representatives of Canada playing in American leagues. Hockey's a bit different because hockey, you've got, quite a few Canadian teams.
Yeah.
Montreal, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, etc., etc. But how is it having major clubs that essentially play in a foreign country's league against cities that wouldn't, in the context of your country, be a rival? How does that play out, and how's that different in hockey, where you actually have the Maple Leafs, playing in a league which has both? How do the games within Canada compare to the games with the American clubs? So
I'm old enough to remember when, especially MLB baseball, there was the Montreal Expos. So there were actually, the two teams. Now it's solely with the Blue Jays. And several clubs have moved with regards to hockey. NHL have moved from being Canadian teams and switched cities to actually left. Like the Quebec Nordiques no longer exist. But the unique thing is, from a fan standpoint, the thing that changes is if you were a traveling fan. And to be very honest with you, sports here in North America, it's a unique few for those that choose to travel to games, because there just tends to be the local in whatever different city. You just happen to be a fan there, so you go to that quote unquote away game, but you don't necessarily travel to all of the games that happen. So your emphasis is to go to the home games, and you know that based on the season, half the games are going to be home, half are going to be away. But the match going fan that happens to travel to away games, that's where I see like Martin and those that are those match going away fans. That's where it's so hard to kind of comprehend. I'm going to be going where now? I'm going to be leaving my country to go here and there. Like, that's where it's really crazy to me. But when you know that the games are split home and away, it's kind of like the same thing. I do think that the change in terms of what becomes the tried and true season after season, love to see who you compete, that becomes really weird from a Champions League or Super League standpoint, because it won't be as familiar. And that might be a good thing. That may be a bad thing. I don't know. But this is where we're all kind of like holding hands the same way, because we fell in love of our club domestically. Like, that's really what we fell in love with the team first for. So I don't know how this Champions League would really apply, and whether it would really strike a nerve for many, because at the end of the day, you want to see City play against United, and you want to see them play against Liverpool. It's really the domestic stuff. The European stuff is bonus. But and I think
the other problem you've got is that, I think there's the other big thing that's we've not really touched upon, is that UEFA and the FIFA would have to, they can listen to the proposals of a Super League, but they also have to kind of green light it, so to speak. And let's just, for argument's sake, they did green light it. Okay. The other problem you'd have is, what we've all talked about before, is how much pressure does this put on to the players? Do you know what I mean? Because if you're either going to have to get rid of the Champions League and put this new format in, or are you going to run another European competition as well, or even global competition?
You're right.
You're going to need a bigger squad. You're going to need. It's just, I can't. For me, I can't see how this works with staying in your own domestic league, plus playing in the Champions League, playing in the
So Ozzy, let me say this, because
it could become like baseball, couldn't it? It could become like baseball, where each club has, instead of having a goalkeeper or a striker or a holding midfielder, you have three of them, because you've got three different squads playing in the week, like a pitcher would. I mean,
it'd be interesting to also see what it would mean for the player, because does the player want to play, like, which games or which matches do they want to be involved in? When would they want to, like, what they would want to do? But this, I kind of made this mention, and apologies if it doesn't really live in your world, but at the age I was interested in WWF, or now WWE, and I remember when the WCW and Nitro and all that kind of stuff was happening, and the competition was great. Like being entertained from two separate, wrestling bodies was great. They were all trying to outdo the other. I don't know, would there be the case of both of these competitions existing, and obviously clubs drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm going to be a part of this, I'm not going to be a part of that, and we see how it plays out. I don't think the two can exist and one club can participate in both. I don't see that happening. So it's like what our former captain Gunnigan said, like, is anyone thinking of the players? There's only so many games that they can play. There's only so many games that you can congest in a calendar to actually make it make sense. So whether it's the clubs or the players, they'll have to say enough is enough. We're doing one or the other. We're not doing both. So maybe the players become the voice on what exists and doesn't.
I think you're right, mate. I mean, Rich, to your point of saying you could have 3 players for every position and you're swapping them around. Can you imagine trying to coach that big of a squad? Do you know what I mean? To play different.
You have 3 different. You have 3 different coaches. I mean, this is
3 different managers.
Yeah.
It's what's happened. It's what's happened in cricket now. I mean, years ago you played Test cricket, then you played Test cricket in one day. Few people just played Test cricket. A few just played one day. Now, some cricketers play Test cricket, one day cricket, and 2020. Some only play 2020.
Wow.
Some, play 2020 in one day. Some only play Test in one day. Not many play Test and 2020, but I think there's a couple who've retired from one day. And, depending on, and then they have concurrent leagues going at the same time in 3 different sports where players have to choose which one they're playing in. So, I do football. The beauty of football for me, and the best thing about football is, I know we worry about VAR and all this other stuff, but actually, if you look at the rules and you look at the fundamentals of football and how much they've changed since the beginning of time, it's actually a lot less than most other sports. Most other sports hugely changed by equipment, rule changes, everything about it. You look at rugby or rugby league, the rules, virtually all the rules of the games have changed. Whereas football, fundamentally, it's still 11 players in a pair of boots and a ball on a pitch. Yes, you can't assault people like you used to be able to with your tackles, and you have VAR and stuff. But fundamentally, the rules are not that different. Back pass was the last massive rule change that happened, 25, 30 years ago, whatever. And that's a pretty tweakish rule. Most other rules haven't changed. There's, definitions about what's handball or not, but handball's still handball. It's just,
that's a good point.
Is it here or is it there? Offside's still offside. It's still 11 against 11. It's still 45 minutes each way. And that's the beauty of football, whether you're a kid playing it in Brazil on the beach or, learning it in an academy match, whatever it is, it's got rules that don't change. And what worries me is an attack on that coming.
Yeah.
For the TV.
I think that's a funny thing. So being a North American fan, I remember something called the XFL, and it was actually funded from Trump in his entrepreneurial days, but they wanted something to compete against the NFL. So it was XFL, and they had different, how you scored, the number of downs, there's just different variations. So they were trying to appeal to a new crowd. But I think the thing that's funny here is, and Ozzy, when I was watching, I was on Twitter and it caught into my feed, but this A22 and some of their tweets and how they're kind of categorizing and phrasing things, they're trying to emphasize that this would bring more parity. This would bring a larger scope of teams that can now compete and have a chance at winning this trophy. All that to me is smoke and mirrors. All of that is just to kind of spin the narrative, because, and it was when Martin was here, it was earlier, these clubs are looking for the cash injection. These clubs are looking for something to spike them, like a stimulus. And it's because they haven't been able to progress and improve the way the Prem has, and so they see a disadvantage and they want to kind of equalize it. But at the end of the day, their domestic is still not on par with the Prem. Their domestic is still where they fall short.
Guys, I'm going to have to shoot off because I've got to go Christmas shopping.
All right, Sir Alan.
See you, mate.
See you, pals. See you. Have a good. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Take care.
See you later, mate.
Yeah, have a good Christmas.
I think you make valid points there.
I'll ring you, Rich.
I really do. I think, as I said earlier, it comes down to 2 clubs and the rest of Europe in some respects, even if they're not coming out saying it out loud, is they just can't compete with the likes of the Premier League. And they are trying to form something that is basically going to make them money because they've got none and they can't compete. And I think until that changes, I think the Premier League will remain the Super League because it has the money, it has the power. Unlike these other clubs, they're so desperate to try and keep banging the same drum over and over again.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Ozzy. I'm laughing at this idiot here putting that comment in the wind-up merchant. Nobbins, good evening, mate. How are you? Oh, Nobbins, if you want to jump in, mate, come in. Let us know. I'll send you a link. You can come and have a chat. XL, what a throwback, mate. A shout out to that fraud Vince McMahon. Right, anyway, should we move on to the next topic? Because, listen, I think we've done the Super League today. No, I don't want it to happen for obvious reasons. And I don't really want to. It's just something I don't want. And I don't ever want, and I will never accept. And I've said it, if City join it, my season ticket will go back. Simple fact of it.
Whoa. Listen, every time, Rich, Ozzy, every time Martin says that, it triggers me. Because I'm across the pond, I don't have season tickets, and he's just ready to just give them away like that. I'm like, what is going on here?
No, because I pay.
But Martin, I know, but you pay for. But I know, but you pay for the domestic. You pay for the Prem. Why are you giving away your Prem?
You won't be getting a Prem.
No, but what if they join? If they join, you've got your Prem, and you've got those home games that happen to be Super League or Champions League or whatever. Like,
I don't know.
Probably not. Vater, I think.
How do you get around being in the Prem?
I don't think you're right on that. I don't think you can be both.
Can do both.
No.
Yeah.
You don't think we could do both?
No.
Well, Vater, if you think, if let's say 3 clubs win the Super League, if those 3 clubs go in and they get 500 million for being in the Super League,
was it 300 billion or something?
First thing that will happen is that the Premier League TV deals will go down because there's a pool of money from the TV station. So the second that's Premier League clubs go into this Super League, the money's going to come out of the domestic leagues and out, as well as the existing Champions League. So then what happens when let's say City, Liverpool, and Arsenal as the 3 best, we're in that Super League. Let's say we all get $500,000 each a year, and plus we get 50 million for the Premier League, and the other clubs in the Premier League get 50 million a year because that deal's now devalued. How can you have a competition where 3 of the 20 have 5 times the resources of the other 17?
I'm on board with that. That thinking I'm on board with.
So how can you? So I think you've got to kick the clubs out of the domestic league if they go for this league, and therefore it can't be a Champions League replacement. It has to be a domestic league and Champions League combined replacement. And
I hear you.
That kills it for the fans.
But see,
I'm keeping TV deal that kicks it as well. There's been a brand new TV deal just signed as well, isn't there?
I think that starts 2025. I believe.
But that's what I mean. You're basically chucking that in the water then because.
But I'm keeping my tickets, and I'm going in with a sign, and I'm going to hold up my sign and hopefully get on camera saying I hate it. But I'm not.
Anyway, Vater, I want to come to you, mate, because tomorrow in 24 hours. We could be champions of the world.
Yes.
Now that has a lovely little ring to it, which I do like to be. Do you know that song we sing about the best team in the land and all the world?
Mm-hmm.
We might be able to sing that properly.
It'll be legit.
Yeah. Now, for a little old club from the back end of Moss side that couldn't win a pissing contest, we're now champions of the world. We're 90 minutes away from being not only Super Cup winners, European Cup. By the way, at this time we'll be Champions League winners, Premier League winners, FA Cup holders, Super Cup holders. Have I missed anything else? Dog and duck holders, best window cleaning holders, and champions of the world. It's just something I could not imagine, and to me, I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the game. I was able to watch the semifinal, ducked away and working from home, so ducked away and watched the game on a second screen. But it was great to see, and you could also you get a sense even when you were when I was watching the broadcast and they put KDB, they put Holland on the big screen, and you saw how the fans reacted, those that were in the stadium reacted to seeing their big faces on screen. So I think there's a lot of like new exciting energy amongst the players, obviously for the club to win a trophy we've never won before. I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of the club, establishing new history and being part of something new. So I'll be watching the game. I'm interested to see who plays and how the game's kind of controlled. But yeah, this is uncharted territory. I absolutely love it, and I'll be right there watching the entire 90 minutes.
Ozzy,
yeah.
What are you now? Obviously, by the way, I know everyone's got a little bit. I think City deleted it. They did put the thing out about Haaland and Docker. I think they've deleted it now because they can't play anyway. I know everyone got a little bit excited because
they deleted what?
They put a post out about Haaland kicking a football, but they deleted it because he can't actually take part. He's not been included in the squad. Him, De Bruyne, or Docker can't play.
Yeah, De Bruyne's only back. But De Bruyne's only trained with the players the first time. He's still 3 or 4 weeks away, isn't he? Or
no, doesn't the actual rules say as well that those players have to have played in the competition to actually be in the final?
Been in the squad, I think. I thought he's been in the squad. They could have been on the bench.
They could. I think they're named in the squad because they obviously came with the rest of the team.
But they weren't on the bench for the first game. I think that's the issue.
No.
They had to be on the bench.
Yeah, but I think they had to be literally, within the match day squad, and they haven't been for this tournament, so they can't be in it. Yeah,
because they were off the bench. Yeah, but the players who were on the bench and didn't play, they can start.
Yeah.
What are my thoughts on Jed Brannan? Doing a good job. Good 5-0 win. Drew with Stockport. Okay. Doing a good job. He's old Jed Brannan.
My thought on Jed Brannan, he was crap. He was bad signing.
Rich, where are you at tomorrow night? Oh, mate, it's disappeared.
Where am I at? I'll be watching it at home.
He's in a right one tonight. He's in a right one tonight, this guy. Have you not had your breakfast this morning? What's up with you, Rich? Have you not had your breakfast?
I haven't had.
Did you have a rough night?
Yeah. I haven't had breakfast.
Did you not get a good night's kip? What?
That's
very
he's
good.
Only just getting his coffee, Martin. He's only just
too good.
Coffee.
Too good. No,
in a right one's it, dude.
I'm not. I'm going to get up and watch it. I'm not massively excited because it's not a club I've got. Not a competition I've got a history with. A bit like the conversation about the Super League. For me, there's a bit of an element that the World Club, but the World Club Cup for me is just not something I've ever paid any attention to. I've never watched it with any other clubs in it, so I've never paid attention when Madrid or Liverpool, United or whoever's been in there. So therefore, I probably rate it a bit below the League Cup. It's somewhere below the League Cup in terms of, real interest. But I'm going to watch it because being champions, being champions of the world sounds good, even if it's just to annoy other fans.
Do you not think it gives us that kick on though for the rest of the season?
I think it can. I think just getting out of the country as a squad and, spending a bit of time, just downtime in a hotel and stuff, I think mentally it can make a difference. I think it's going to give, a little bit of hot weather, hopefully not so much rest, although I think we played against Urawa walking football for half of it. So it probably is a rest compared to the intensity of the Premier League. One really sad thing, and we talk about the traditions of football and things we love about football. one really sad thing about this for me is no Boxing Day game. You know, I think for me, the Boxing Day game was one of the best things. Yeah, I do. But it's quite good. But yeah, it's when no Boxing Day game, and kind of I'd rather be playing. I just have this thing. I'd rather be at a Boxing Day game against, you know, Liverpool or, you know, Arsenal, or a game for Christmas that really mattered. Instead, we've got the 29th whenever we play our game. We have, so it's a bit of a, I don't know, for me, a bit of a double-edged sword. We're missing a couple of exciting Premier League things, and, you know, we're not part of it.
Charlie makes a good point. Fluminense, and I'll be honest with you, I think this is the thing with all Brazilian clubs and all South American clubs. I think these take this very, very seriously. I remember Flamengo, or whatever they were, played Liverpool in 2019, and they only just beat them 1-0 with extra time, if you remember. They do treat this like, you know, their massive cup final. So I think it's a bigger thing for them than it is for us. But and I think we have to be careful tomorrow. I know they have 2 or 3 players that are in the mid-40s. I know, you know, Marcelo's not the same Marcelo as he was at Madrid, and they've got that. Is he 46-year-old? Sure, he's 46. He's older than me. Jesus, says it all. But here's my big thing, and either of you can go on this. Kyle Walker. A lot's been made out on his comments. More about the Ferguson comments, probably a bit more. Some have called him a baby. I wish Alan was here. Alan sent me a big message calling him a mad-ass baby and needs to grow up, because, you know, this is the problem with a woke society, as Alan called it. I personally, we did say this a few weeks back that it was coming. I know Charlie's in the comments. Charlie said the players don't read social media. They do read social media, because Kyle Walker's made a big point about it, of all the fans saying he's a crap captain and he's a crap player and blah, blah, blah. Has Walker got a point, or would you think he should have just kept his mouth shut?
I think Walker was a couple of things. I think Walker is a bit emotional and, you know, not always the smartest in the way he communicates. And I think he probably takes, he gets a little more wound up and says something compared to some other players who, faced with exactly the same situation, would just give a really political answer. I think Walker does speak from his heart a little more. And, you know, we've seen it with he's had a couple of, you know, really silly sendings off. He can let emotions get the better of him in a way that you don't see with some of the other players, you know, in terms of, you know, as captains. I think the United comments, I think those comments were all about trying to give the City squad and the City team a kick up the arse. I think that is about trying to, you know, give the whole squad, including himself, a niggle that they can't just sit here and think they've created the best football team this country's ever had. They have to do more. They have to push higher. They have to prove that they are, you know, do the treble twice to prove you're better than Fergie's team. So I don't think he really believes that, you know, Fergie's team was better or did more than this. I think what he's saying is, to really dominate Fergie's team, we've got to go and win 15 Premier League titles in 20 years. We've got to, you know, win a second Champions League trophy. And I think he is niggling them all to, you know, maybe it's clumsy, maybe it's, you know, it'll work. But I think he's trying to put a niggle in the club, just like Pep is, to try and fire them up and to try and get them out of the flunk they've been in, and to try and get them to win the World Championship and come back and start to beat the Arsenals and Liverpools in the Premier League. So but I think he's a little bit clumsy. He's not. He's nowhere near as polished a communicator, or probably as verbally intelligent as someone like Ilkay or Vincent Kompany or some of the captains we've had in the past, who are incredibly aware of everything they say and what the implications are.
We did do a poll earlier on. I just want to put that out there. Do you want Manchester City to join the European Super League? No, with a resounding 76%. Yes, at 23%.
I'm amazed it's not 100. I'm amazed there's 24% who want a Super League, to be honest.
They're right there.
I'll be honest with you, I think that's part of the Premier League charges.
Yeah,
I also think if you... I was going to say, I also think, we'll go back on to Super League talk, is that I think, when you look at the UEFA and FIFA, being corrupt, and basically just monopolising, competitions, I don't think that's what they should be there for. They should just be there to kind of, manage the tournament, not the tournament, sorry, just managing the game. They make the rules. They shouldn't be involved in the competitions. I can see why some people think, the Champions League is a monopoly. There isn't another competition out there that does it justice, that can compete against it. So you can see why some people would like some sort of different competition to come along.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, just on the Walker thing, I do feel something had to be said, because I do think some of the hate that was going around online was getting beyond the joke. I mean, he even talked about the Grealish Doku stuff, which that was 4 months ago, and the players are still talking about that little nugget. And I said they were annoyed by that quite a lot. There was a lot of anger within the camp of this Doku and Grealish thing, because they never saw it as a Doku versus Grealish. They saw it as another addition to the squad. They didn't understand why the fan base turned it into him versus him. And now, some have attacked Walker. And listen, I think my point is it went beyond constructive criticism, and some of it got very nasty. Yeah. Some of it got really nasty. And I think that's to a point where I think he had to say some of them. Maybe he shouldn't have said the Fergie stuff.
I think some of the ridiculous stuff as well. I mean, the simple fact is that Grealish has started 11 games for City this season, and we've won 10 and drawn 1. So, if you're looking at City and where our problems lie, it clearly isn't when Jack Grealish is starting. Now, other things happen in the games he started. He probably didn't start in the games where Rodri was out, etc. But the simple fact is that just shows you Jack Grealish isn't the problem. He isn't the reason we've been dropping points. So, when he gets blamed for it, it's almost like he's getting blamed in games where he didn't actually play, which is just silly. So I think Walker did that, but as I said, I think that Ferguson thing, Martin, was just clumsy. I think he's trying to put a rocket up City, and I think he just did it in a slightly clumsy way, and the fans read into it something different.
All the players and staff, including Pep, are on Twitter, mate.
Well, Walker said it in his thing. It's not even that he reads it. His parents show him stuff. His family show him stuff. So he often says he hasn't read it, but then his family you care about, and they come and show him these 10 tweets.
There's wives and children and family, brothers that reading all this. I think this is what we get. We forget they've got. You can tell Richardson. Look at him now. I don't know what the hell he's doing now. Jesus Christ!
Getting protein
advertising
this morning.
Do we get money for
sponsorship? No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna contact.
Are you taking the mic, mate?
Ask for some.
People
some free
voted
yogurt.
against the Super League. 70-odd%, 76 or 77% voted no for the Super League. Yes, there will be, mate. There will be. I don't know what time. I'll let you know before the end. Anyway, to me, are we any changes from tomorrow? Because obviously no Diaz. Are we everyone keeping what we'd have? Keep the false 9, bring back an Alvarez.
I think it's a game for an Alvarez, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you made the point of like earlier saying we need to take this game more seriously because other clubs in South America take this competition very seriously, and Fluminense will take this seriously because they want to win it. The South American clubs are kind of peeved that other clubs in Europe don't take this competition seriously and have won it constantly.
I'd say more UK actually.
Decade.
I'd say more the UK.
Yeah, I think you might be right, but what I'm saying is that I think that they definitely don't see the respect from, like you said, the Premier League clubs.
No, they don't.
I think they are. I think they want to get one over a Premier League club more so than maybe some of the other European clubs. But they're going to go out there and they're going to play to win. And I can see this being one of those games like it happened for Liverpool, where it may just be a 1-0, or a 2-1, or I think it's going to be not an easy watch maybe for some City fans. Thinking it's just going to be, oh yeah, we'll roll in and we'll roll out with a trophy.
I think that's a massive problem this year, and I've said this on every show. If we're not 5-0 up by half time, there's a meltdown.
Yeah. And I think people need to. I cut myself off, if I'm honest, from Twitter and stuff because, it just some of the meltdowns are just ridiculous. I mean, we won the treble. I'm wearing the shirt. Best team in all the land, all the world. And we're going to prove that.
That's getting clipped.
Yeah. but that's the thing, though, isn't it, Martin and Rich? That we've got to understand, and we've got to kind of. There are some times where we're not going to win every game. We're not going to beat every team. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? Thankfully, though, mate, I think 99% of people on the Mancunian way are the same as us.
Oh yeah,
we know there's not going to be every season we win everything. We know that there will be times where we have an off season. We 100%, and you know what? We can accept that. I just think there is, and I think it's. I always say the loudest majority, the smallest minority are usually the loudest, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
And it goes on to bang, 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 and everything escalates and it becomes an echo chamber. And it's like, we know now, no matter what Jack Grealish does, some fans just don't like him. We know whatever Walker does, some fans don't like him. We know whatever Núñez does, Alan will never like him. So we know there are certain players who will just have their card marked. But on the other side, there are certain players who have been really, really good, can have a crap 2 or 3 games, and nothing gets said about them. So as much as there's players who get attacked, there are also players who get protected. And I suppose we just have to accept that. I agree with Chroma Base. Núñez 100% deserves to start tomorrow for me.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it'll be Kovacic who misses out tomorrow. I think it'll be Foden. Núñez, Rodri, Alvarez is the 9, Grealish left, Bernardo right.
Yeah, I want to see Núñez get, definitely start because we need his energy and his directness, especially before De Bruyne's back. So, and we desperately need something else in midfield. So if he can get his form and give us that, then that's good. And yeah, it's pretty clear that Pep for a long time has thought that Núñez is a very good player. But I think it's also pretty clear he's going to take some time to settle in because it's a huge change of level, of type of football, of everything. But I think he's starting to show some glimpses of what he can become. But I still think it's going to be 6 months, probably next season, before we'll really see Nunes start to play as Pep wants him to and fulfill his potential.
The thing on
that midfield needs rebuilding, if you really think about it.
Yeah,
Because the only real midfielder that's going to stay in that for the next few more years is Rodri. KDB has only got a couple of years left in him realistically. Bernardo Silva's probably going to leave.
Yeah.
Foden still hasn't really kind of cemented his place in that midfield. So for me, that midfield is going to be a massive bit rebuild in the summer.
Yeah.
So thank you for the super chat. Now, David Ornstein did put something out earlier saying no senior signings are planned at Manchester City during the window. Planned. Hi, guys. Loving the show. Do you think, Martin, we will actually go and buy someone in January or not? Thank you so much for your £5, Connor. That is so generous and appreciated, mate. Yes, I do think we will. I think what David Ornstein put was very clever. There are no senior players planned. Because, like I said, there was a list at the moment. There is not a one player set to come in. Because Sky Sports then put out earlier that if Calvin Phillips leaves, City will want to bring in a young player, preferably homegrown. There is no way on hell this squad or this board will allow Calvin Phillips to leave and not replace with anybody. That would be borderline negligent on their behalf to keep us that low, to take us that low. Because then what you're hoping for from February onwards that there is no injuries and no suspensions, and then it goes.
I agree.
I could see it happening, if I'm honest.
I can't. I
think it would be. I think it'd be
gross negligence.
I think you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you. There's something for me that I think we've seen City do this before. We've all cried out for them to sign a certain player or a certain player in their position, and they've not gone and done it, and it's cost us. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know why they do these things sometimes, but they've got their reasons. But it's rare that we ever do any business in January.
See, it depends. Do you class Andre as a senior, as a first? Do you know what I mean? It depends what they're defining as. Because I do know Kimmich, Paulinho, Andre, and there was another one I got told it was all on a list. We don't know what's going to happen in January. We don't know what might come up. I don't think they would. I think it's a very difficult thing. So hard to explain transfers because everyone thinks it's, you just go on, put the bid in, get the player, come and do a medical and you're off your pop. And it's just not like that. I also got told last week that West Ham were due in court either next week or the week after about Paqueta reportedly. So is there going to be some sort of outcome on the Paqueta deal? We don't know. I think Ornstein's covered himself all bases there with his wording of it. There are no planned at the moment. It's covering your ass sort of tweet, that, innit? You know what I mean? It's a bit blah sort of tweet, but we'll see. Because if you speak with other people, you listen to Tolmy and other people, they've all said we are in. So just because we're in doesn't mean we will.
Yeah. These deals have to be right, don't they? Like you said, Mike, if the player's not right,
they will go without. They will go without 100%. If they can't get a player in who's right, they will go without. They won't just, as Alan puts, panic sign Nunes into the door like everyone thought it was. They don't do that. They don't just pluck someone from thin air. But Yeah, I honestly, getting back to, so that's the bit on the transfers. Getting back to Friday, yeah, I do think we'll win. I'm probably looking, I don't do score predictions, but I think there'll be a goal in it. 1-0, 2-1, that sort of thing. I'm expecting a very tough game against a very tough opponent who will understand the conditions better than we are, because they're used to playing in 28-degree bloody heat. They do it all the time over in Brazil. And I think it's going to be very difficult, but I think we'll come back as world champions. I really do. I just feel like we're going to come back as world champs. And hopefully we bounce into Goodison Park and then get another 3 points. And then the trouble is football can turn around so quickly. 1 week it can be Meltdown City, the next week. It's like the Super League. We've all had a big hoo-ha today. It'll go quiet now for a year until the next time it gets brought back.
Yeah.
And then we'll all have another meltdown again until the next year it goes quiet again and all comes back.
Yeah, there's going to be a meltdown by either Liverpool or Arsenal fans. There's going to be a meltdown coming, because the one thing that you can be 110% sure of is that at the moment, the two most I'm not sure what word to use, but the two most unaware, lack of self-awareness fan groups in the country are Arsenal and Liverpool. They both feel that the whole of everything is conspiring against them, and I just think that there's going to be some dodgy decision in that game, and we're going to have one of those groups of fans in absolute meltdown, and the other group of fans celebrating like they've already won the title. And I think Christmas title celebrations this year for whoever wins out of Arsenal Liverpool are going to be off the chart. I wouldn't be surprised if there's bus parades going through North London or Liverpool, New Year's Day. I think they're going to go off the chart. And so I think we're going to come back to a Premier League with one team top celebrating the fact they've won it, which I think will fire us up. I think we're going to have one group of fans in absolute meltdown. I think we're going to have very happy Villa fans, and it's going to be fascinating when we come back. Everton's a hard game though, but hopefully we've actually used the World Club Championships to get a bit of a rest and get a mental break, and it being something good, because Everton's going to be hard. But if we can get a win away at Everton, I think that'll be they're one of the form teams in the Premier League. Hard game. I think it'll be a huge boost to the club. Huge boost if we get that.
Yeah, Rich, I agree with you. I think this needs to be the time where City have gone away. They've all had time to think collectively. They've all had time to kind of sort some of this, whatever's going on at the moment, this bad form, and come back, with a trophy on that plane and think, right, Everton's next. Let's go out there and beat them, because we can. We know we can. So, yeah. Won't be able to wear the gold emblem on that match, though.
I'm just noticed yours. Sorry, Blue. I was keeping up. I was checking. Someone said put something on Twitter, and I was just looking for the tweet. That was all. And then somebody else was tweeting me. So it's all going off tonight. It's like bloody mad thing. Centre goals. Someone else had just put. Oh no, that was ages ago. Ignore that one. We'll carry on. Anyway, we're probably going to leave. We're going to do the Everton thing, but we'll probably have to leave that now because we've been going for 2 hours. I will say that there won't be a watch along tomorrow because I'm at a family event until about 10 o'clock. So we'll do post-match. It'll be about 10:30-ish, I think. Yeah, about 10:30-ish. We'll do something anyway tomorrow to be world champs. And then that is it then for Christmas. We are going to have a Christmas break ourselves and we'll be back Wednesday. Then Wednesday night for the Everton post-match, and then we'll roll into the Sheffield United game, and then blah, blah, blah. But yes, after tomorrow night, we'll have a break till Wednesday. So everyone can have a lovely Christmas and enjoy themselves. I have not forgotten about the giveaway. We will be doing the Christmas event. I said we're going to do it in the new year at the very start because you'll get more for your money in the City Store. So we're still going to do the quiz where the winner gets £50, second place will get £25, and we'll also give away one of the lovely treble winners medals, because I've got 4 of them.
Do you know, Martin, that one thing tonight, and you two should feel good about this. It's still, not only good for me, but they're going to be a 43-year-old and a 40-year-old starting for Fluminense against City, most likely. Their goalkeeper's 43, still playing.
One of them is 46.
They've got a 40-year-old centre back, haven't they? Was it Philippe Melo or whatever his name is? And I think Marcelo still plays for them, and he's 35 or 36 or something. So it's going to be, conditions suit them, but they've got a few people our age out in the team. They've got me in goal, and
I'm only
centre back, and Ozzy. Yeah, so you're centre back, I'm in goal, and Ozzy's left back.
Whoa!
I reckon Alvarez. No,
nowhere near our age, Rich.
I'm putting you near the. I'm making you 35-year-old Marcelo. You're
Cade has renewed his membership for a 6-month running. Thank you, buddy. That is much appreciated. Thank you so much. You're a superstar. Connor, thank you for your super chat earlier as well of £5. It was so generous. Thank you. Great show, boys. Thank you. If you can smash the likes on the way out, we've had 150 on tonight, roughly. We've not hit the 100 mark, so we can smash the likes, even for Rich being a rude little boy earlier on and not letting me speak my piece for some weird reason.
No, I didn't. You were about to slander me, Martin, and I
was not. Sure I was about to actually make the point about the Premier League and everything else, which you agreed with me on, and then you didn't even let me finish it.
Exactly,
and then Alan jumped in.
You.
Let him speak, Martin. I was speaking.
This will continue when we finish the show, by the way, everyone. This will continue.
Believe me, my lawyers have written a letter because I heard Martin say, just because you agree with Alan. And once that's clipped and it's sent to the High Court by my lawyers,
put it in the chat.
That is defamation.
Like best buddies.
Defamation.
Friends.
Defamation.
Football friends.
Defamation.
Friends tonight, you and Alan. Lovely.
One thing that hasn't happened before and won't happen again.
Took us 45 minutes to let Ozzy speak. Sorry I missed it. I'll have to watch it back. No worries, Andrew. Hope the ref doesn't spoil the game. I don't know who the ref is, mate. Tyrone Douglas, thank you, mate. Jay Fresh was in the comments earlier. I hope you're good, buddy. There will be a space later on. I'm going to do a space at 11:30 on the Super League. People who asked me to do it. Charlie, fishing. What do you mean fishing? You telling Rich went fishing? I know, don't he just? Rich don't fish. Alan the Grinch.
I'm not working today, so I can come and join the space. And
I am so glad I'm not getting involved in this.
Are any of you two available for tomorrow night? Out of 10?
Tomorrow night? No.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
No, I'm.
Pardon?
Well, if it's very rainy, I will be. But if it's sunny,
I won't. On? You're coming to my World Champs?
Yeah, if we win, why not?
It's half 10. It's late for you. You can do the late ones. And we'll try and get Andy on tomorrow because he promised me he was coming on tonight, but he didn't do. We haven't heard from Pat Charlie, so that might be a bit more worrying. We've not heard from Pat.
Yeah,
if you see talk him, about.
There was talk on the Australian news about the arrest of a drunken Australian.
Anyway, if you're not going to be on the space later, what I want to do, if you're not here tomorrow night, it will be late about 10:30ish because I am out, like I said. we'll do the post-match. But if you are not with us tomorrow night, have a lovely Christmas, Hanukkah, season's greetings, happy holidays, however you spend your Christmas or holiday season. I hope you have a wonderful time. I'm just trying to cover every base of every person I possibly can there. Please look after yourselves, stay safe, look after your loved ones. And one thing we do want to do from all of us here at the channel is thank you for your amazing support. The last month on this channel has been like no other. It has been amazing. We were talking about 3,000 subscribers for May, June time. That could happen in the next month now. It is smashed and the views are smashing and the analytics and the watch time and everything is just through the roof. And honestly, for me, Pat and Rich, me, Ozzy and Rich, me, Ozzy and Rich, who are the three main, obviously, founders of this channel, we want to thank you all because you are amazing.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a, wonderful break. And let's hope that we've got Ozzy and Martin, possibly Pat, on tomorrow. It won't be me. Celebrating the year ending and celebrating Christmas as champions of the world. Some new songs to add to our repertoire. I'll try and get out of my Grinch-like mood about this competition that I've never watched a game in apart from highlights of City Semi in my life. But I will watch it and try and get excited.
Rich slagged all match-going fans off. The club, nobody cares about match-going fans.
No, see, that is an absolutely untrue and defamatory statement.
It wasn't. It's what I heard.
Yeah. No, well, you weren't listening, and that's
you said it saves me. It saves me a couple of extra hours in bed.
Yeah, because I'm not going to get up and watch us playing against.
Bollocks to you fans travelling 300 miles to the other side of the country. Rich gets another 2 hours in bed.
Martin, I don't think you clearly you don't even understand what that comment means, Martin. Is I'm walking away from watching City if we're in a Super League.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Who's getting wound up now?
Merry Christmas, everybody.
We know about Rob and everyone else. We saw at the very beginning of the channel as well, Sean. But Rob, yes, did help and has helped a lot to help this. And Alan, and Pat, and Veta, and Andy, and JSGC, Lewis, everyone who's been on this channel. Thank you so much. Covered everyone? Hope so. Anyway, have a lovely time. We'll see you tomorrow around about 10:30.
Can I just say, thank my dogs. You haven't. They're like two of the main.
Merry Christmas. Oh, thank you to your dogs as well. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, thank you.
I know.
They're out there looking gutted. They're looking devastated.
Are you noticing that as well, Charlie? Are you noticing it as well, mate? Have a lovely time. See you all tomorrow. Where City will be champions of the world, I am sure. Take care, all.